Let's talk Star Trek. Not that Star Trek. Let's talk Deep Space Nine, also known as which of these main cast are we going to put through the ringer this week? More often than not, it's O'Brien in these early seasons. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite episodes from this series, and it's in the Pale Moon. Psych. It's not. Well, it is one of my favorite episodes, but I also love Quickening. If you haven't recognized it by the name, this will help you. It is also known as the Plague Bashir episode or the Plague episode. I hate calling it the Plague episode, and that is exactly why I'm making this video, so I can talk about it and ramble about lots of other related things. When it comes to cold opens, it acts as a teaser for what's to come, tonally, and what kind of characters are involved in the story. But Bashir is not in the cold open that much. It's mostly about Odo, Kira, who else? Our local capitalist, wrinkly boy. This episode basically lures us all in with a false sense of security. It's like, hey, look at us, wacky space hijinks with the capitalist and his communist sailors. Whoa! And once you start watching it, bam! That's not what this is all about at all. The rest of the episode is pure pain, misery, death, deconstruction of hope, dreams. Then we meet Bashir. He is extremely eager to explore the shines and the rainbows of Delta Quadrant for some reason.
Those little points of light out there, the great unknown, beckoning to us.
His co-workers are justifiably worried.
Is it my imagination, or are the stars a little brighter in the Gamma Quadrant?
What is my guy even talking about? Let's be real. Has he not seen what O'Brien had to go through every other week in the Delta Quadrant? And heck, Bashir has been through worse, if you ask me. He was with O'Brien during the Armageddon game, and he was trying to defuse all advanced nuclear warheads, and then he got radiation poisoning. That happened behind enemy lines. He had to get away from people, get away from soldiers, while trying not to die of cancer and internal bleeding. So, where is this optimism coming from? No one knows. To be fair, is being stuck in one single tabletop game not enough for him? Yeah, we don't talk about in this house. Don't worry. Let's just move on and talk about how our Bashir goes from a twink to a slightly more broken twink in this episode. The runabout receives an emergency broadcast from a strange planet, and everyone thinks it's a good idea to check out without any backup. Yeah, how bad could it be? And yeah, everything they hope for, everything is just wrong there. Everyone seems to be infected by something, and everything is in rubbles. Yeah, we don't even see a single building in one piece. A lady walk ups to the gang and nearly passes out. She wants Trivian, the local doctor, as Dax would assume, and somehow she manages to find the hospital. Meanwhile, a guy sees our man Bashir and says, I see hope in your eyes. You're happy. You don't belong in here. Just get your friends and get the fuck out. That's literally what he says.
You should leave here.
Then we see what this hospital business is all about, because spoiler alert. The opening shot is a old lady cranking on this gramophone looking thing, and it looks like she has to physically keep turning that thing, or else there will be no music in the hospital. So at least they have music. Bashir meets Trivian, and they hand over the lady to the doctors and nurses there. Trivian just drops the whole lore and backstory of the planet and Dominion War on us. And Dominion did this to them just for defying their order. Think about it. Dominion grew soldiers in their labs and just sent them halfway across the galaxy just like their kids. And when they encountered a civilization who hoped they would be able to resist the new force, the Dominion just poisoned the whole planet, not just the army bases and with weapons manufacturing areas, I'm talking whole base, as in whole planet. And Trivian shows a baby with infection as well, as in everyone is infected. Everyone will be infected on this planet. Bashir and Dax realize that this ain't any normal hospital. It's not even a hospital to begin with by any standard. Maybe by Vidian, it might be considered a hospital. Who knows? So people come here to die. If they are not in the hospital when light kicks in, they will just die a prolonged, horrible, painful death. They call it quickening. Title drop. Yeah. We know this because we see a guy thanking Trivian.
Thank you. This morning I bathed in hot water, dressed in clean clothes.
What clean clothes are you talking about, bro? I mean, they do be struggling for real over there. He drank poison to die, to escape from a horrible, painful death. After seeing all of this, Bashir just decides to leave the planet. If I'm being honest, he was told to leave that place, so he just decided to agree with them. He meets this lady, a pregnant lady. She's called Ikoria, and she talks about how she has to survive at least 2 months to deliver the baby. And Dax ignorantly says, "It's just 2 months. It's not that long. You can manage it." For which Erika replies, "You don't understand. Blight can cook in any day, any time. No one can predict it. No one can postpone it. It just I could just drop that right now, and you can't do anything about it." So this makes Bashir realize that this matter is serious and urgent. Even if he left the planet right now and went to DS9 and filed a formal request for rescue party, the thing is, Starfleet might go into a war. So who knows when that could happen? And even if they send a troop, thousands of people will die even before the troop reaches that planet. Yeah, heck, he even believes that it will only take him, just him, 1 week. Such a showcase of Federation arrogance. Topic for later discussion. So, well, yeah, let's talk about it right now. Why not? What is Federation arrogance, you ask? Oh, we are better than anyone we have met, and we are not afraid of any threat. We are strong and powerful. Our Galaxy class ships are just the best ship out there. Oh, Borg? Yeah, we can take them. We can just dogpile them. Oh, oopie fucking da. Everyone is dead in Wolf 359 because of a single book. You've just won. It's not a fleet or an army. So, yeah, that's just one example. I'm not bitching about anything. I just love that Federation and Starfleet has a fatal flaw. They are arrogant. They are too optimistic. And yeah, DS9 is basically something which tests the Federation standards. I love it. That's why DS9 is one of my favorite series. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. Depression and lack of hope. I'm not talking about you or me. I'm talking about these people in the planet. In the I don't even know the planet's name. I don't think that's important to the conversation. So anyway, after noticing Jem'Hadar activity nearby, Kira leaves to DS9, while Dax and Bashir decides to just stay here and fix the problem. They still think that this is fixable. This is something which can be done within a week or two. So they stay at Erika's place. I'm not going to keep calling Ekoria as Ekoria because Erika is easier for me to say. She is Erika from now on. So Erika shows her late husband's painting. Apparently, he also painted the same thing on a wall somewhere in the city corner where everything is in rubble, so you have no idea where the city corner is. Dax, for some reason, says, "Oh, you can take us there later once we deliver the baby and fix this problem, whichever happens first." Um, why is she so dumb in there, or is she just too arrogant? You don't just say, "See you near" to someone who is suffering from, I don't know, stage 4 cancer.
Um,
What I'm trying to say is, these people forgot about the word later and hope and dreams. There is miserable now and more miserable before. She nearly breaks into tears when Bashi shows an image of her baby. She was highly doubtful of whether she could even see the baby before the blight kicks in. So yeah, she is understandably glad of what's happening now. As Bashir makes progress, Erika takes out a secret stash from underneath her bed, which is basically her stash of food, which she would eat when she dies. Yeah, she is not even sure whether she would die before she gives birth to her baby, but now that Bashir is there,
But something tells me I'm not going to need it anymore.
she believes in a better tomorrow. Yeah, she doesn't need that stash of food. She's not going to die. But after doing some science stuff, Bashir somehow manages to isolate the virus strain, and he needs volunteers at the stage. He needs tissue samples, bloods, and whatnot. When he asks people for help, people ask him all sort of weird questions, and we can guess that apart from dealing with the blight and death and lots of rubbles and dirt, they have to deal with sick fucks who swindle these unwell people for a non-existent cure, and mad scientists who just came here to experiment with these people, like that one Cardassian who went to Bajor for finding cure and then he just butchered people there. Yeah, Voyager. Understandably, Bashi doesn't have enough volunteers to do the job. He just assumes that people lost hope. Erika then sheds some light on the mentality of these people because she's one of them. They have accepted their fate, their truth, and begin to worship death. For them, the sweetest release of death from Trivian's medicines, is the only thing which can save them from the painful, horrible, unpredictable death, which is caused by the quickening of blight. Wait, so is Trivian called Trivian because he's a trivial doctor? That's a really bad joke. Few people decide to believe Bashir and just volunteer. The guy who told Bashir to leave when the episode started walks in and proudly says, I canceled my fucking debt for you. You better heal me. And after an undisclosed amount of time, around a week or two, Bashir comes up with an antigen. Every volunteer, including Erika, gets a dosage. And it does raise the white blood cell count, even if they have one. I'm not sure how he knows that. Yeah, Bashir brags about how he considers himself as someone who confronts and pushes death away from people, and how he has been operating on his kukalaka. Likit Talokan? He still has that pity because he has never given up on his patients. That is what he says, but it sounds more like he is autistic to me. Good for him though, because he lives in 24th, 25th century, which allowed him to be himself to a point that he still can have that teddy without being judged and ridiculed. I'm getting distracted. Bashi's antigen sucked ass basically, that's just the truth, and killed all of the patients who took it. Well, everyone except Erika, don't worry. We won't kill a pregnant lady in here, it's Star Trek, right? Yeah, thank fucking God she's not dead. Bashir would have just lost his marbles right there. He died. Yeah, some of them died a painful death, and few of them managed to be saved by Trivian because Trivian just walks around with death in his back pocket. That he just came in with vials of poison and then helped everyone. Truly a low place for Bashir to be. Bashir does say that electronics mutated the virus, and between you and me, I don't believe that at all. I think electricity has nothing to do with this. It's just Bashir, as in he tried to cure it, but the virus is programmed to be mutate itself and become worse whenever someone tries to fix it. So after this, Bashir acknowledges his arrogance, which is good, which I love whenever Star Trek writers do that. Before leaving, he sees Erika, and Erika's blight has gotten worse. It has become red. It used to be black. Yeah, she is going to die sooner or later. One could say it quickened and became ripe enough to quicken any time. Even though whatever happened, she thanks him for his help, for his effort, and for giving her hope. This makes Bashi stay because he can't give up right now. He's the doctor. He might have failed once, but he's not. He is now going to make sure that this lady survives long enough so that she can deliver her baby. After an undisclosed amount of hopefully not too long of a time period, we see Bashi checking on Erika and her baby. It is depressing because she's in pain, but she wants to live long enough to give the baby. She just wants to deliver the baby and get it over with. And Bashi literally has no equipments. He ran out of things, I believe. He is he is treating these two lives like he's a medieval doctor. He doesn't even have a stethoscope. But the show must go on. He can never give up. That's who Bashir is. Trivian decides to check on Erika to make sure that this weird alien is not torturing her. Is that what happened? Yeah. His argument, and I quote, I'm not paraphrasing, this is literally what he says. The child will know nothing but peace. And why? Blight will get him one day anyway. So let's kill him now. I shouldn't be laughing. After that, he leaves, and Erika, of all people, defends Trivian. She says he means well in his own way to Bashir. Bashir induces the labor sooner than expected, sooner than when it would have happened, after Erika's request. And turns out, to everyone's surprise, baby is not infected. The kid does not have blight. There is no mark on his skin. Erika passes away seconds after knowing that her son is not cursed, and the antigen Bashir made worked after all. It's a miracle. It was observed by the baby through the umbilical cord, or however you say it, and that's why only Erika survived when everyone else died. And when I was watching this episode for the first time, I was crying. I had to pause and cry. But just takes the baby outside and tries to talk Trivian into taking charge of vaccination process. For which Trivian says, "It's a privilege. It's not even a burden. I would never say no to that." And he actually says, "Will you tell me how to make it? Because that's how pessimistic and nihilistic they are." Bashir, of course, says, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do here." Jem'Hadar and founders and those Vayuns, Votas killed everyone's hope on that planet for generations, not just for a day or so. So yeah, it is a bittersweet ending. Bashir hasn't saved a single person who was alive when he got on that planet, which was his mission to begin with. But he made sure that from now on, babies can be born without a trace of blight and curse and all of this misery. They will die, but yeah, everyone on the planet will die, but their children will grow to have a better tomorrow, which is the best thing they could ask for, or anyone could ask for. And the Bashir episode ends with Bashir sitting in DS9 in his office room or desk, or however you would call that Kardashian equipment room thing. And he is still searching for a proper cure to save those people on that planet, because Bashir never gives up on anyone. That's how man Bashir. Let's talk about what I wanted to actually talk about before I started to recap this episode. Most Trekkies who I know call this episode the Plague episode. Why? Just why? It makes me so angry. People are dying of plague. So yeah, plague. One guy pushes a cart with one dead body when they first landed on the planet, when they beamed on the planet. Where else have you seen people pushing dead bodies on carts on Monty Python? I mean, in media set in Europe during plague times, whenever that happened. I should actually look into it, but I'm not going to. If you want to look at this at the surface level, it can be the plague episode, but hey, we are watching Star Trek here, that to Deep Space Nine, not Star Trek Picard. Again, let's not get deviated. My point is, this is actually about America dropping two devastating weapons which are never seen before. Not in the battlefield, but in a civilian zone. America hit two cities after all, no matter how you see it. Yeah, Pearl Harbor happened. That happened first. Japan brought US into the war. It was an attack without any warning, without any Yes, people did die there. I'm not neglecting that or ignoring that. According to Wikipedia, 2,403 Americans died. But if you look into it further, only 68 civilians died. I'm not saying 68 is less or more. That's not the question here. The question is, does it actually justify dropping 2 nukes? How is Truman not considered a war criminal? Or America, if we are being honest? Oh yeah, Japanese attacked a military base. That somehow justifies nuking 2 cities. That's a saying in my language. உனக்கு வந்தா ரத்தம் எனக்கு வந்தா தக்காளி சட்னியா. Yeah, the meaning will be on the screen if you want to know what that means. Fun fact, did you know that US government went out of their fucking way to censor reports, photographies, and stories, any form of media from Japan after the nukes hit? Even for decades, they never let Americans see it. Even from American military sources, they just decided to hide it all. I don't want to talk too much about this, so let's get back to Trek. Dominions are ruled by shapeshifters, after all. They mostly live in one planet, always constantly in a state of liquid orgy, and their minions are called Votas, however you pronounce it, Vayuns, if you will. They are in charge of commanding Jem'Hadars, who live to fight and die for the founders. I'm not trying to be racist here. That's basically why they are being engineered, how they are engineered, and they are just made in labs in batches to serve their purpose. The ancestors of these people, who we see in this episode, resisted Jem'Hadars. They fought lab-grown soldiers who are meant to control and wage wars. Dominions are just a big bully who put their troops everywhere, and when someone tries to resist their wishes, their orders, they use weapons of mass destruction, which ruins the life of not just one generation, of a whole planet. Yeah, the weapon they used is not exactly nuke, but it is fucked up. Kids are still being born with defects in Japan. Nuke just didn't kill people in a certain distance from a ground zero point. It has been causing suffering ever since in multiple different ways, which we are still comprehending. Yeah, but let's call this a plague episode. It's the easy way out, right? What I found interesting about all of this is the same franchise where they had an episode about Vietnam War and discrimination during the late 60s and distracted the censorship board by using the power of a hot lady in a skimpy cloth. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. And side boobs. Yeah, power of the side boobs. It works always. It is distracting. It was efficient. Not look at me. It got results. It was efficient. So, but in the franchise, we had this being known as the plague episode for some reason. Even if you go to Google, Bing, or whatever you use, I'm not going to judge. Uh, when you look up plague episode DS9, this episode shows up. Even though we have multiple plague episodes on Star Trek, you know, famous, the famous data episode from TNG Measure of a Man, the one where he had to prove that he is not a property and he has rights and he can do whatever he wants. No one can force anything on him. That episode is actually about a roll clip.
This is actually reminiscent of the Dred Scott versus Sanford decision in 1857. That was the landmark Supreme Court decision that held that the Constitution did not include citizenship for Black Americans, regardless of whether they were enslaved or free, and therefore the rights and privileges that citizenship confers on American citizens would never apply to Black Americans.
I may see things which aren't there, but it feels as if people fail to see what the episode is actually about when the episode is actually about how America fucked up. Sometimes they are ignorant. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Oh, this is actually about slavery and hypocrisy of we the people. Why do we have to think that much when we can just assume this episode is about right of artificial life forms set in the future? This has no basis in reality. We can just believe that. You can say ignorance, media literacy, or schools not teaching the right important lessons. It's a different story. I don't want to get into it. But I'm just pissed that sometimes Star Trek goes so far that it goes over people's head. But I can forgive all of that. But let's talk a different issue, which I'm not going to forgive. It's basically an issue with Kirk and few other people. We need to change that now that we have a new Pike. We can have a new Kirk. If I was a citizen in 24th century Earth and I see a captain from Federation praising United States of America, I would be concerned. I wouldn't trust him just as much concerned as I would be if I study history with Kirk. Yeah, American Constitution loving captain should raise red flags. I get it. It's not as worse as a history professor in future loving Nazis and Hitler so much he created his own space Nazis. But it's up there if you ask me, especially considering the standards of 24th century where racism doesn't even exist. And if you're being honest, Kirk would have gotten over and forgiven Klingons sooner if he wasn't an American fanboy. Let's be real. I'm just being honest. Man nearly caused a war between Klingons and humans, and he started a captain's log with, I have never trusted Klingons, and I never will. Who even starts a conversation like that? This happened in undiscovered country. I'm not making this up.
I've never trusted Klingons, and I never will.
Undiscovered country is set 8 years after Kirk's son got shot. I'm not saying it's too soon or too late, whatever. But yeah, getting back to the topic. Oh, it is so badass when Kirk kicks that Klingon to death, or whenever he says the most rude thing. And oh, I clapped when I saw Picard shoot the drone down. I'm not saying that Captain should not have flaws. I'm saying flaws should not be glorified. Picard kills because he has PTSD. That's the truth. He's not badass. He's just scarred. He's broken. Not to mention, whenever Janeway does something to protect her ship and her people, everyone bitches about it for years on end. Yeah, we are still talking about 2x, but we never considered the fact that Kirk loving America is a red flag to begin with. And speaking of Picard, I hate how season 1 creators were like, oh, he became one of those who were getting marginalized. Now he truly understands their struggles because he is in their shoe. He is in their shoes if they wear shoes. I'm not sure about some androids. You know what that sounds like? White people can't understand what minority people feels like, what they go through, unless they can change their race and become one of them. Which even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. dealt with making a dead person into a mortal robot against their will, into a better topic. They dealt with it properly. But what our Picard writers can do, they do. Yeah. I should not have written a script about this because I made a different video without a script that actually went well. It stayed on track, but I'm just rambling about everything except Deep Space Nine on here. Maybe I should stop writing scripts. And yeah, I am looking at the prompt right next to the camera. That's why I'm looking somewhere else. Speaking of dealing with ideas properly, this episode is well written, especially considering it is mostly mystery form. They could have went the easy route, but this Deep Space Nine we're talking about, they had the best writers if you ask me. The vaccine was found only because Erika decided to give birth to her son at any cost, at all cost. Even when Trivian offered her his medicine and tried to argue that the kid's best option is to not exist, she said no. She said that's not going to happen. Why did she say that? If you ask me, she was the same person who saved up food for her death, even when she was pregnant, so she can die peacefully. But she changed her mind. People change. And she changed because of Julian. Julian gave her hope. She learned to dream and hope for a better tomorrow. From Julian, Bashir, no matter how bad things got, he never gave up on her. And that's why she never gave up on her baby. Yeah, I mean, Bashir did give up after he killed people. Because, oh, wait, I finally get it now. He believed he believed electronics made the blight worse, and that's why he was using old-timey techniques to nurse Erika, not because he ran out of every other option. But yeah, he did run out of options there. So yeah, he accepted that he was ignorant to believe that he can solve this problem in a week, but he chose to stick with Erika after all of that mess. And he made sure that Erika survived long enough to deliver the baby. Without Bashir, Erika would have either died before birth or asked Trivian for help and then died before birth. And Bashir only stayed because, well, he stayed there because he was arrogant, but, well, that, and of course, he couldn't just deal with the fact that people will be dying while Starfleet help gets to the planet. That is even if that is possible to begin with. As I said earlier, they were on the verge of a war with a huge force. It's Dominion we are talking about. And they were also dealing with Borg. If a Galaxy-class ship parked on this planet's orbit, within a week or so, Jem'Hadar would have shot that damn thing off the sky, and we know they can do it. R.I.P. Yeah, everything was miserable, but Bashir didn't want to give up, and he gave hope to everyone on that planet, not just Erika, not just Trivian. He just proved that, yeah, there can be better days as long as you believe in them and work for it. Let's say Starfleet somehow managed to come there and tried to help. What are the odds that they would have actually figured out the solution? Under proper procedure, Starfleet doctors wouldn't have even chosen a pregnant lady to partake in the experiment. And not to mention, those people were not friendly to begin with. Understandably, I would be just as hostile as them if I were in their shoes because of their experience and the pain they have been through. So yeah, Bashir said, "Fuck RSD, try your best, and never give up." Also, Kira assaulted the local capitalist. That's good.
I will come to Quarks, and believe me, I will have fun.
Just like with most well-made Star Trek episodes, there is no bad guy here. Trivian is just a doctor who wants to save these people on this planet, and the only way for him to save is by just killing them and sparing the painful death for them. Yeah, I wish more writers nowadays learn that we don't need a mustache-twirling, world-ending, apocalypse-level villain who just wants to kill people because he or she is evil. Or let's not talk about Star Trek Discovery or Picard. Yeah, finally, one more topic which I want to talk about is Star Trek usually has it's not something I hate. They have similar episodes. Captain Chaotica hologram episodes, we have Moriarty episodes. What else we have? Yeah, Data wants rights, EMH wants rights, Data skids wants rights, and then the robots Data found wants rights, and then the robots Bellana Torres found on the Delta Quadrant wants rights. Beta Quadrant? Which quadrant were they in? Oh, Gamma Quadrant. Oh my god. I have no fucking idea. This episode also has similar episodes. I would like to call them as sibling episodes. We have a Enterprise episode. It's called Observer Effect, where our Enterprise crew encounters with a silicon-based virus on a crashed Klingon ship, and then yeah, people get infected, and then people have to sacrifice their life, hoping that they can find a cure. Meanwhile, two non-corporeal aliens is possessing lots of people, and then seeing how humanity has developed, whether they are developed enough to have a first contact with, which is solid. It's a solid episode, and it ends with those aliens learning empathy by doing empathy for the first time in thousands and thousands of years. And we have Saru Sark in season 2 of Discovery. Saru wants to be culled. Michael refuses, and then Michael is like, "Yeah, you're my friend, I guess. I must do it because you're asking me to." When she decides to do that, and proceeds to slice off this part, ganglia or whatever. It just falls off because it's just coincidence, nothing else. If Michael Burnham came to Saru's quarter a few minutes or few days earlier, then everything would have ended differently. That's how it's just a fluke, it's just a coincidence. It doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't have a proper motivation, it doesn't have a proper payoff. It's like, yeah, this happens, I guess. And yeah, it would have been better if Michael Burnham was like, no, you have to fight for it. You are special of your species. You are the only one in your species who have gotten out of your gravity well. You can't just die like this. You have to find a way. And then Saru gets motivated by that and somehow survives the culling. Sorry, not culling. Yeah, I haven't seen that series in so long. I just saw that episodes once. So yeah, that didn't save Saru. It's not like Saru was even though he wanted to kill himself, he survived because he wanted to save people of his ship from certain danger. Only he can help. Well, it did happen. If I'm being honest, I have to be honest because I love the fact that he has knowledge of so many languages that he can function as a translator, universal translator, not just any translator. But it's not like it was a big hurdle for them. They figured it out and then solved it just like every other problem they came across without putting that much effort into. And yeah, also this reminds me of that episode where the barrel falls on Worf and breaks his spine, even though he's supposed to have two spines. I guess it breaks both of his spine, and yeah, he wants to kill himself via assisted suicide. And I should probably beat those words, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So, and then William Riker just walks up to the room after thinking a lot, and he just goes, yeah, fuck your Klingon bullshit. Just grow a spine and protect your son because you have one if you haven't already forgotten that. You have a son and only you must take care of him. You can't just fucking disappear like your father. So yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Thank you for watching. Let's talk Star Trek. Let's talk Star Trek.